All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Review Board. This is a citizen board appointed by the town council to interpret and uphold the historic preservation ordinance. So when it's your opportunity to come and make a presentation, if you would, approach the podium and just introduce yourself and also give us your address before you start. That would help with the record. All right, the first item of business is the roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Here.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Here.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Mr. Geisler?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, we need to approve the May 5, 2021 regular meeting minutes and the May 12, 2021 special called meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding those minutes?
I don't.
Let's see, I think there were just,
I was absent.
yeah, so maybe we better do a vote on each set. Is there a motion to approve the May 5, 2021 regular meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Abstain.
Mr. Weaver?
Abstain.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Geisler?
Yes. All right, the May 12, 2021 special called meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those?
I moved. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Abstain.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye. All right. So if we could go a little bit out of the order that's on the agenda and skip ahead to F1, the Washington County Courthouse update. I see we have quite a few members of the here on behalf of the Washington County Courthouse. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Of course, you're welcome to stay if you'd like to hear the rest of the meeting, but no need to do that. But whoever is on board, take it away. Everybody's pointing to each other.
I know, man. We let the chairman speak if he wants to.
Hello, I'm Dwayne Ball, Chairman of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. Thanks for having us here tonight. Tonight we'll have an updated footprint and envelope for you to look at with the courthouse. Bill Prince with Berwick Construction is going to be here. He's going to present what we're looking at doing. Hopefully, if everything moves well here tonight, the Board of Supervisors will be looking at this on Tuesday night to approve a contract. And as you all well know, since you are right here in town, the Elliott Building's pretty much gone, so they really did a good job getting all that done. And then hopefully, if we can work out all the facade questions with this group, we can move forward with doing some construction in next spring. So I guess with that, if you don't have any questions, I'll introduce Mr. Bill Prince.
Thanks.
Thanks, and again, thanks for having us, and thanks for adjusting the schedule as well. That's very nice. I'm Bill Prince with Berwick Construction, and we have been working on the facade, the Main Street facade at this point. And we've gone through a couple different revisions of that. Our initial submission had a elevation that we had proposed on. Then we went back to what's called the details submission, took comments back from committees and made some changes there. During that time frame, we were trying to match this addition to the courthouse. After having a few meetings with the chairman and vice chairman, we've looked at a different approach to it, just tried to fill in what the elevation is gone now with a elevations that is appropriate for the main street, but not trying to match the courthouse itself, leaving it in the prime.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
There's some copies of these. Alright. So what you can see is that we've come up with an elevation that is basically appears to have three different buildings themselves. Okay? All of this has been worked out with how the interior layout would be, and it functions well. And we were able to push back, and the first rendering you're seeing is looking from the to the west, okay? And here's the column in the main courthouse. And then, so we have three different color bricks or stonework on the front of the building, as well as different detailing on this. Now, what we're hoping to get to is a good feeling and a preliminary approval of what I'll call the massing, the heights of the buildings, the steps in and out from Main Street, the front columns and porch area. That allows us to go ahead and proceed on with our interior design. We should be under contract by June 8th. And so we wanted to bring this tonight to you all to get your all's review on this. So we have the view looking toward the west. On the second page is looking back up toward the east, which we've incorporated, you see on what we call the west building, some different brick colors and detailing, taking similar details along Main Street to not match but complement. I also have with me tonight, the third photo that you have is just an idea of brick colors, okay? We've brought some details with us tonight. You see potential brick colors there, some type of detailing on the molding, FRP, that is rock resistance. Stone potential colors for the center building and the front porch area. This is a limestone, this is a precast. Hard to tell the difference, but a stone look at this like this. And we also have a sample window, not a particular manufacturer, but the quality of window that we'll be doing with the appropriate historic mullions and for this type building to be in this area. So we understand that we have a long way to go to get through the details. We're starting to gather information and bring more information back to you as far as what all the pieces and parts on the front elevation will be. We still got to render the rear elevation as well, but we wanted to get with you tonight and see what you thought about the steps that we've taken and where we have gotten to today. So with that said, I'll be happy to answer questions or see what kind of comments we have.
So at this point, you're just bringing us up to speed on where you are, and this is not to grant a certificate of appropriateness or anything like that. That's just to get some feedback from the full committee on where you are.
That's correct. What we would like to have is, we know that we're not ready to ask for a full approval at this point. We have more work to do, more detailing to do for you all to be able to reach that. What we want to be getting from you all as soon as possible is basically a preliminary approval of the massing. And maybe the center building isn't this stone or this color, or maybe there's a tweak to these things, but we're wanting to get a preliminary on, again, called the massing and the envelope itself.
Could you bring those samples up here so we could
Sure.
come to them a little closer?
Need more hands.
I do need more hands. Looks heavy, it's not. Here's the window, or an example of a window.
Well, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
I know that we've talked about this before, is how difficult it is to do new construction, and particularly you're doing new construction over several lots, not just one lot. And what you've done here with this is avoided the too large a mass look by the step back look of it and by dividing it up into three different buildings. You've referenced buildings across the street and around the district. The
Correct.
district has all kinds of different styles in it already. And I think you've done a good job of reducing the mass by what you've done, which
Thank
I
you.
think was one of the real challenges there.
I agree, thank you.
Is this the color you're gonna paint the brick on the? Is
That
what
would
this
be
is
the
for?
color of the trim, or a
The trim.
potential color of the
Okay.
trim. The center brick that looks light, it actually would be a true limestone or precast.
Okay,
So it would actually be
one of these?
one of those materials.
Okay.
So there would be no painted brick, it would be an actual stone, actual limestone or precast.
gonna ask a question because somebody's gonna ask me.
Good.
What are you gonna do with the Confederate soldier?
I think that's something that we'll work with the county.
Might as well
And you
get
all,
that out there.
to address the appropriate location for that. This building does take up the space where the
You will
statue is
protect
now.
it until such time that it's determined where it goes, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
So, just to elaborate on what you've already said, but just a little, so, really, the first meeting that Betsy and I attended, and I think you all were going in this direction because we asked you to go in this direction, and that was, that really, the design was really sort of a true addition to the courthouse with features that played off of the courthouse. And, you know, the problem that occurred with that was that we sort of had dueling courthouses. We had a courthouse and a mini courthouse. And,
Right.
and so it really seemed like the more appropriate way to go would be to make this addition blend in with the historic district as a whole, as opposed to being an addition to the courthouse. And that's what's led to this design, which, and again, there are definite problems that you're having to address with this design. I mean, one thing that is a given is that you have to have an area where, you know, the public, when they're waiting to get into the courthouse going through security, there's some place for them to be, that they're not out of the elements.
Correct.
So that had to be addressed.
Mhm.
That's one of the requirements you have to have, and the square footage and the courtrooms you're gonna need, and how it's going to, how the pedestrian pathways within the courthouse are gonna lead to the original courthouse. All those
Mhm.
things have to be addressed. So that's all led to this type of design. And again, reflecting what Betsy had to say, I think, you know, you've done an excellent job of trying to address those concerns.
Correct.
Is there any,
No, I think you've done a really good job here.
It
and,
looks nice.
You know, you see these little churches all over the place where you have the original, and then you have the original hen, and then you have these little chicks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you've avoided that very well. The menacing is, you know, I hate to give up the green space,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that's not possible to keep it and meet the program requirements.
That's correct. So, and I was thinking about this presentation that coming tonight, and, you know, we're not trying to replace the Elliott building, but there were two different buildings in that area.
Yeah.
And now we're going back with that two different or three type of buildings, and that really goes back more to what it was before.
something else that you preserved that's kind of hard to see on this drawing, but I think is important, is if you look at it, you can see the Colonel White House. So you're set back, what, 4 to 6 feet from it? Is that-
Yes, maybe a little
So
more
there's
than
a
that.
good setback from that. So this building is not going to be right up to the sidewalk. So
It is
we are-
not.
We are losing some green space, obviously, between, as to what used to be there, but this is not, it's not gonna be right up on the sidewalk. There'll be some areas for landscaping here, and there will be that setback from the White House.
And there'll be a little green space in between this addition and the original courthouse as well,
Yeah.
where you have the ADA
Handicap
ramp
ramp.
going up the side of the building up.
Where's
Yeah.
this
Where's that going?
fitting in?
Well, that is, if, right now, that it would potentially be, like I said, with the detailing, the cornice of the main building there, the dark brick, it could easily have this type of dental.
Oh, I see.
We've seen one before, right now, we're showing no dental, but we could do it.
Is that a material?
That material is what we wanna use because it's the FRP and it's really, it'll last
Yeah.
forever.
It's okay for us to use.
But again, you're just asking for sort of some
God, just,
massing approval.
You wanna-
Exactly,
that you can
we're asking
proceed.
is that, what you all commented on, that we're successful, the steps, the height, you know, are the brick colors right? Don't know yet. We'll make sure that we get them to you and we get them right. Is the detail along the corners exactly this? Probably not. We'll go through that detailing and get those submissions and final submissions into you. But if we can get approval on the massing and the steps and the location, that turns us loose to go with the
Right.
interior design as well. And as we continue to work on the exterior with you all.
Right. So the general and conceptual is what we're looking at here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll be bringing back the details,
Right.
going through the appropriate process to get those approved.
I like it.
Thank you.
It's good.
Great.
It works well.
Yeah, I have to echo with Betsy that I like the different heights of the building and the different depths of the buildings. I think all that, it works with what the guidelines need.
Okay.
Is there someone trying to put that into a motion?
I don't know, I mean, do we need to, or? It's not on our agenda
Right.
to do that.
I mean, do you need more than the feedback you're getting? Do you need some sort of?
That's all I need. What do y'all need? All we need, we need a
I was
consensus.
gonna say, let's
What
just
we
have a
don't wanna have
consensus.
happen
Right.
is that we go through all the interior and all of a sudden we come back and say, oh, well, can you push this building out
Right.
5 more foot,
Right.
push it back, can you
Right,
make it
right.
taller?
Right.
Can you change the window locations? That would change everything that we're doing on the interior.
Right.
So if we have a consensus tonight that this is massing
Yeah.
and the windows and the elevation appearance, not the details, but the
Right.
appearance is acceptable,
Right.
then we're good to roll.
I think you got that. Shall we
Yeah.
all do that? There you go.
Awesome.
It's on video, so you got it.
That's as official as I need. I'm ready.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank
for,
you all very much.
For coming and keeping us advised.
And we'll be back multiple times and bringing out the details and stuff that we need to bring.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Here, you want this?
No, those are public, by the way, so keep those.
Oh, okay, great. That's the first time we've got to keep them.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you all. Okay, so now we'll be back on the agenda, D1, Jeff Siegel and Donna Siegel. Welcome.
So I'm Scott Siegel, go by my middle name. We own the house right behind us here at 136 Valley Street.
Okay.
And bought it about 10 years ago, and at that point in time had submitted an application to replace the deck, which was approved by this board almost 9 years ago, I guess. And we're just now getting around to doing it and coming back before the board.
I have a fence like that. It was approved about 8 years ago.
I have a shed like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's one of those things, you know, you get involved in
Right.
something, and actually the deck was about ready to fall off the back of the house, so we kind of had to move forward at this point.
Right. So this deck, it's exactly the same as the way it was approved before?
It's, yeah, it's 24 feet wide, so basically that's how wide the deck is currently. And the current deck is 10 feet out from the house, and we're gonna go out 12 feet from the house, just 2 feet further.
Does anyone have questions? Comments?
I have one question. Will you stain it or paint it?
It'll be stained
Stained.
after it's completed, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the certificate appropriate.
I'll second
As presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Geezer?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Got another 9 years on you.
9 days.
Okay, the next is Micah Childers, for application for certificate of appropriateness for a new brick patio. Hello.
So what we're looking at is the spring house portion of 112 Court Street. So if you're looking at the front of it, it's to the left, the rock portion. Yeah. So where that is dirt, previously there was gravel there. Actually, whenever they took the gravel up, I found part of a brick patio. I should have taken a picture. I think I did, but it's on my phone. So there was a brick patio underneath the gravel that was there before. So this will just be reusing the brick that was originally there. If you look at the building itself, what's the best one to point at? So if you look at the building itself, this maybe, whenever they did part of this addition, they kept the old brick. The spring house is actually full of the original old brick. So we would utilize that brick, which is not always the evenest surface, but then put that down. Where there's a herringbone on the sidewalk, we would just use soldier is probably not the right word for it, but it's the same brick design that was in the back patio that's getting renovated right now, but where they're just in line with each other, just to give a little visual difference between the sidewalk and our space. And it's the same design that I found under the space. Is just the, I don't know what that's called. Running bond. So that design. So no intricate designs, nothing fancy. The slope of it would follow the sidewalk. We originally thought about doing a wall and a lot more to it. I think we don't want to do that. The highest point will be the back corner between the spring house and the brick. So that'll be the high point, and it'll just slope toward the alley slightly and toward the sidewalk slightly.
And it goes all the way to the alley, right?
Yes, sir.
I have a
We may
question.
have to fix part of the alley. It's kind of rough where the two come together, and the sidewalk's got some issues.
Will you keep the spring house wall and door there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I got approval previously to fix that up.
Uh-huh.
Right.
It's still in our plan. We just haven't gotten to it yet. We've gotten some quotes, but yes. Previously, I'd gotten approval for the top window, just putting back to single pane glass. We're still planning on doing that when we definitely can get to it, but all that'll stay the same.
What is
If
that
anything,
brick
we
with
hope
the
to
writing
accent
on it?
this.
Like, what does that say?
I'm sorry?
Like up two slides?
I think this is Old Virginia, that was a brick.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Are you
Salem.
gonna use some of those, or?
Where I can find them,
Okay.
yes. I found that one in the spring house. I think I found 4 or 5 of them right
Oh,
now.
that's nice,
Yeah, and Old Virginia was Saltville, I think. I don't remember.
I think-
It's here
I
in the
think it was
area.
I think it was in Salem, I believe. Salem,
I mean,
Virginia.
yes, it was. You're right. Salem, Virginia. So I found a couple of those bricks, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we'll try to sprinkle those in where we can.
The transition between the new patio and the sidewalk, where it's two different patterns, would you do like a soldier course between the two just to differentiate?
There
the-
currently is a soldier course. I'm gonna get a point to this. I don't know if you can see it, but right here where the edge of the sidewalk is,
Mhm.
there's one course of soldier. We may do one more just to get a nice transition. We were gonna use the herringbone into that space, but we thought it would look nicer to have a transition. The brick that we're using is definitely older brick, would have been the original to the building.
We could put sand between.
Yes, we're not gonna do concrete, because we need to have the drainage too.
And this will be a dining space?
At some point, I think we would like to have additional seating, just an additional outdoor area. The back patio's not really a usable space right now, but at some future point, it will be a usable space. So we envision some seating there at some future point.
All right, are there any further questions or comments?
That building's a gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Telling me. It's fun. We have no idea what we're gonna do with the spring house. The second floor is really crazy. There's no access to it from the inside of the building. It has hardwood floor, it has crown molding, it has chair rail in this teeny tiny little space. It's very beautiful and creepy at the same time. So one day we may try to figure some way for people to access it.
Are you talking about behind the stone?
Yes, ma'am. Where, this is one room, that's a whole nother room.
Really?
It's very unique, and I don't know what we're gonna do with it. We'll,
There's stairs up to there, right?
No,
How do you access that?
it's behind a wall on the inside. There is no, I kind of broke through a wall to get to it. Our original access was where we popped out some of the wood on the left side.
Of course, originally it was probably by itself there as the spring house.
Yes, ma'am.
William King sat in it probably.
Very much, that probably occurred. It looks like it could have been someone's apartment, if you will.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the project as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
A roll call?
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Just protect the spring house.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Jessica Cook with
Chillis.
Chella's for a sign approval, I believe. Is that right? Okay.
Hi, I'm Jessica with Jerry Signs, and Chella's is at 182 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia. And this is our proposal for her carved sign for the boutique that is going into that space. So the way that we have it drawn is as a CNC carved HDU sign that we actually paint in-house by hand. And right now it's a double-sided hanging sign on a custom wrought iron bracket, which we will also make and paint black, as you see here. I think that's all I have.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
The size of
Why
what
did
are,
I think this was a restaurant?
Size was down there.
It's 25 inches wide and 21 inches tall right now.
Oh, yeah.
So it meets the size. Yeah. So it meets the size requirement.
Yes,
Matches the door.
it does. She has her colors picked for the exterior and the interior to all coordinate with the sign. So it does match the front door, and we're going to make another sign for the inside that goes along with that too.
Jessica, why do I think this was a restaurant? It's not a restaurant.
Foresta is right a couple doors down.
But this is a boutique. Is that what it
Yes.
is? Or- I'm just curious.
Everything I
She was here once
see
before,
Yeah.
maybe.
is a boutique.
I just, for some reason, when she wanted the door painted, I thought we were getting, it was a restaurant for some reason.
No.
I think it's a boutique.
Okay.
I could be.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I believe it seems to be like a clothing boutique.
Yeah, I mean, the sign looks like that. It just,
Mhm.
I was just a little confused. Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Move we approve as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Rain Restaurant, Ben Carroll. Welcome.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing good. So, we started painting. We weren't aware of our understanding was structural stuff, and we didn't understand the like fresh paint would fall under that same category. So you can see the color; it's already on the building on the front here. So we went from like a beige, kind of yellowish beige, to more of a gray. It's like one neutral color beige to like neutral gray. And then the trim was an off-white color, and it's going to be more of just like I guess a traditional white, just so a little bit more of a contrast between the gray and the trim instead of it all just kind of, before to me there was no real contrast with the trim, and it's got all that really nice, columns and all that stuff, so I thought it would kind of pop a little bit nicer if it was trimmed out.
You know, the pictures are a little bit deceptive. It looks a lot bluer in the pictures than it looks in real life. It's really muted. I mean, it's beautiful.
Well,
It looks
I mean,
really
I'm
nice.
I'm not a paint guy, I'm a cook, so, like when I started looking into colors, like apparently gray is one of those colors that could go like so many different directions, and we really went down the rabbit hole trying to figure out, something that would be super neutral, and this was out of like a Benjamin Moore's, like a historic collection of colors that they offer. But the lady said that, like, this is about as neutral, and you're right, it kind of gives off kind of a bluish look, but from what I read about the grays, like, either going to go like, it can swing in either towards like the brownish green color to more of like what this is, but in the sunlight it looks pretty neutral in my opinion. So.
It's pretty.
was there something else that we needed to approve, awnings or?
Uh, yeah, the second thing, was an awning, and, so if you're familiar, right, that area right there to the left, that little sidewalk area that goes from the front to the back, the awning is the same guy that did the front awnings over the windows. It was gonna do something similar, so it will attach to the building right under where that board where the guttering is. And, the only difference between the window, whatever that's called, and that is it's gonna come out a little bit further, cause it's, to basically cover that sidewalk. Cause when we had all the seating restrictions with COVID, we started putting tables out there so we could get as many people in there as possible. And, people told us that they really liked sitting over there, so we're trying to just kind of keep that area available for seating. But if it rains, we got to bring all the tables inside, so this will just kind of give us just a little bit of
How far does the awning go towards the alley? All the way to the door, or just cover?
It's going to go, from that front, corner where the gutter is to that first door there where the light is.
So the width of the awning, I guess is what we're asking.
Oh,
Is it
the
going to
width?
that fence, or is it going to the edge of that sidewalk area?
Well, that sidewalk is only like a little narrow sidewalk. We were gonna extend that over just enough to where, there wouldn't be like a drop-off ledge there, so we could have, right now the tables have to be set like,
Right, so you're talking about putting in more patio space? Because that's a separate thing too, if you want to make the patio wider,
no, it's not,
or the sidewalk wider.
well, the sidewalk just has to come out like 1.5 feet in order for a table to be able to sit like, instead of it sitting this way, we would be able to sit this way and have a floor
But I
top
think we
and sit.
have to approve that as well. I mean, I don't see it as a problem, but I think we have to address it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
So
that.
what's that sidewalk made? Is it stone, the stone like the rest of
What
it?
exists is the same stone that's on the front patio.
Oh, is that what you're gonna use to extend it?
Well, I mean, I haven't contracted anybody. The gentleman who's doing the awning, there's going to be 2 support posts that's going to go pretty much right up against that white picket fence, and and then the gap between that and there, he just suggested just putting concrete there, and you could just kind of blend it up against the stone that was already there, because it would be more of a level surface on the front patio there where it's stone. A lot of the tables wobble a lot, so I didn't know that little section of sidewalk would be another thing that had to be approved.
Any sort of structural change.
Any visual,
Okay,
anything, yeah.
but you can't see that area from the roads, but I mean, I get what you're saying.
The awning, what material? Is it gonna be cloth like the
It's gonna be
other?
the same material, yeah.
Same color?
Same color, black, yeah.
Is it gonna have, is it gonna have, I mean, obviously it's gonna be different than the round.
So the way that he
Oh, okay.
quarter round convex is so it'll come, attached to the top, and
Can
then
you come
just
around and let us see that little
Yeah.
hook? Yeah, that'd be great.
So it'll just attach
Oh, I
to the building
see.
like that. So like the dome is what we have over the windows there, and it's pretty much, it'll look like when you're standing at the front of the building and you see it, pretty much all you'll see is just that front side of it, but you'll see this part of it, but it'll just kind of round out from the building to the edge there. And honestly, we don't really, the sidewalk isn't something that's 100% like, we don't have to put it in. It would just allow us to
So really from Main Street, you're just gonna pretty much see the side profile of
you'll just
that.
see like basically just that side
I
profile.
got you. So it'll kind of blend in with those others.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be the same vertical height as those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so like he said, he would, it mounts, it's not the exact same, because those just there's a window on the side there that doesn't have that little dome thing over it,
Right.
but this one is just slightly taller, but he said from Main Street, like if you're looking at it, it would essentially appear the same, like it would just start, just that same kind of rounded look.
be changing the fence at all, or moving the fence?
Well, that's not my fence. It's the
No,
neighbor's.
the black fence,
Oh,
because if you're going to expand your patio, what's your access gonna be to fit there?
no, there's a,
Door.
There's an
There's a-
opening.
there's an opening there.
So that's gonna stay,
Uh,
exactly.
So the neighbors, when they're clearing the, you know, sometimes they go back through the front door, or sometimes they go through the alley there. So if there's tables there, then they have to kind of hug the fence a little bit more, which is the main reason why we wanted to extend the sidewalk out. And also it allows to turn the table, but, we don't need to do that. I mean, they've been walking up and down that alley for years.
Well, I don't think
without-
you'd have any trouble getting it, I mean, we just have to see.
Yeah, we
the-
just, it wasn't
see
on
the-
our list,
Uh-huh.
so,
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for the awning, the paint color. The only issue that I would question is how you blend the sidewalk and the new solid surface. And I agree with you, there should be a solid surface there to
Yeah.
help make that space.
Because right now it's
usable.
just weeds, you know. I
Right.
mean, we've tried to put herbs and other stuff there.
Not enough sunlight.
Grow mint, you know, we've tried to put a bunch of different stuff there, but the neighbor's trees, it just, there's so much shade over there that and he refuses to trim or do anything, so,
But I don't know how to blend that together to make it look appropriate, and maybe they have
yeah, I mean,
suggestions.
the guy that I talked to that has experience, he said that, you know, it would just be a matter of like, you know, just framing in that section and then just pouring the concrete and just putting just enough of a grade to where if any water did collect there, it would roll off so it doesn't puddle up there. And then he said that they would just smooth it, you know, because like once you pour it, you know, you go back with the brushes and you just smooth it. He said it would basically just go right into the rock. But I mean, if I needed to put more rock down, I could.
I mean, aesthetically, I think the two different materials will look funny, but that's just my opinion.
I'm not worried about that as much as just making sure that it doesn't get started and then without seeing an actual plan for it, to make sure that it's the right height and that there's not how it's gonna look from the road, even though you don't think we can see it.
Well, I guess that's for another day, if you decide to
Yeah.
proceed with that.
Yeah, with
then
that, maybe you have to
we'll just
come
have to
back
have the details of what you
Okay.
wanna do and.
But
I mean, I think it's a good idea, I just haven't seen it,
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah.
where it's elevated up, like, I
Right.
mean, like, I guess if you were walking by and you looked down that little alley, you would see it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue.
So is there a step down from the patio to where where is it?
The front steps are
I mean, on the
elevated,
side over there.
but there's no step there, it's wheelchair accessible there.
Oh, okay.
So it just goes straight from the sidewalk, through that gate, and then there's another, opening from the side.
But there's no steps.
There's no steps. So the ramp for the wheelchair is at the end of the sidewalk. And, at one point in time, I think the previous owners applied to have another ramp put in front of that gate, but nothing ever happened with it. So like, somebody wants to get, like, the wheel, at the very end where the stop sign is, right there.
Yeah.
where it's- yeah.
Okay. All right, is there a motion with regard to the paint color and the awning?
I make a motion to approve the, paint color and awning.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A roll call?
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Could you provide us with a copy of the sketch of the awning so that we'll,
I mean, this is what Tony gave me. He said that, like, he didn't really have, is this what you mean?
yeah,
this?
just so we'll
Yeah.
know what we've
You
approved.
can have this.
Do you not need it?
No. I
Okay.
mean, he can give me
Okay.
an extra copy, and
All
that's
right.
the fabric sample.
Okay, well,
Oh.
well, maybe,
Oh, yeah.
okay, that'd be great if you don't mind.
But it's the same fabric
Sure.
that, is on the other ones.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right.
I like the color change.
Yeah.
All right, next is Ramsey and Betsy White.
Oh,
finished where we get to have some fun.
All right. This is an update.
State your name.
This is an update, and it's because we're going to put a fence, and I brought this to show where the fence is. It's a little piece of a fence. It's back here at the back near Plum Alley. It's an entrance into the garden.
Okay.
And so we've had the fence designed now. So I just would like to show the design of the fence.
In schools.
It goes here, and here. On the two openings, there it is right up there. So right there at the very top, right there where the car is parked, and in front of that is the shed, and around that green part of around the shed are bushes. And so there's a pathway between those bushes and the shrubbery over there. And you can see an arrow is pointing to where the gate will be, that's
Yes.
bisecting that pathway on either side. And so that's what we've had designed as the gate.
Okay.
And I think there's a picture of it somewhere. That's an old picture of the shed.
I saw it earlier.
We did have it. Oh, Jason, where are you?
Right
Oh,
here.
there it is.
Right
Oh,
here.
there it is, okay.
Okay.
Okay, it's a short little fence with the gate, and that's what the gate is.
And what are the materials gonna be?
Wood, painted white.
There's a gate on both sides, right?
Yes, there's a gate on both sides of the shed leading into the garden.
All right, any questions or comments?
I make a motion, we approve the plan.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Oates?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Giesen?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, if you could just arrange for a contractor to show up, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, and certificate of appropriateness, Alex Martin with regard to the Summers building, and I see, Mr. Berg is here.
Yes.
Again.
Again. And let me just say, it's nice to see everybody's faces. It's kind of intimidating sitting here and not being able to read anybody's expressions. Yeah, so Nathan Berg with Berwick Construction, and we're talking about the windows for the Summers building. As you can see, what you're looking at is a main elevation of the Main Street side of the building, and using that as a typical example. Obviously, that's not the full elevation, but that is one section. An identical section would be beside that, and then another section of windows similar to that would be in the front as well. You can also see those bubbles with the arrows represent the cut sections. So you have, I believe, 4 different cut sections, which shows the cross section of the window and how it's constructed. We used the windows at Maxine's, or where the spring house now is, as kind of a reference point. And so the way those the aluminum frames will be trimmed out will be basically as similar to what was done at Maxine's as possible, given the constraints we have with the modern frames and the modern insulated glass. So with that said, are there any questions? Also, yes, sorry. To provide an update on, I think the last meeting you guys wanted me to kind of do more of an in-depth search for.
That was my question.
Yes, for companies that might be able to do the full 12-foot piece of glass on the bottom, which would then allow us to kind of keep the original design. I did do an extensive search. I actually started with the company that that you provided, Byram, and this was Nashville Glass, and they, when I spoke with them, they said, yes, we can make a piece of glass that large. They said, but good luck finding somebody that can install it. They said if anybody can do it, it would be Holston Glass, which serves your region. They serve East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. I contacted Holston Glass. Bruce Ratliff, who is one of the owners, came out and took a look at the project, and it took him about 5 minutes and basically said there's no way we can do this project. He said that one of his biggest fears is if that glass was that large, there would be so much flexibility in the glass. He actually raised a concern that wasn't even on my radar, and he said that it could actually pop out of the frame and fall into the building if you had a really good gust of wind. He said just there's not enough rigidity in that glass for that particular application. He said if it was something installed indoors where there's no wind, he said that wouldn't necessarily be as much of a problem. He also said, basically from an operational perspective, that they do not have the ability to install a piece of glass that large. I didn't stop there, though. I also spoke with Vericon Worldwide, which is an international glass company. Spoke with their representative, Jeff Johnson, and they said that they were unable to serve our region. That's just not in the area that they serve. They also said they typically only install glass that is around 60 square feet, and this is almost twice that. He recommended Nashville Glass as a company that does these really big pieces of glass, which then again kind of took me back to square one. I also contacted Glass Inc. in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, based on some of my research, they did some larger format glass installations. They, again, kind of stick to that 60 square foot range, and they also don't serve our region either. He recommended a company out of New York City, New York Glass and Door Company, and they do not serve our region. I also then got back into contact with both Keller Glass and Mock & Adams, which are both regional glass companies, and both of them reiterated what they had told me before, that basically it's just they don't have the capability to install a piece of glass this large. And so I kind of, that's basically as far as I got, and was, kind of a resounding no. So I felt that exhausted. I felt like that was a good, sample of glass companies, and that kind of did exhaust what I felt were our options.
Well, that was going to be my question, and you've answered the question.
Okay.
You did a very satisfactory job of researching the possibilities.
Are there any, I guess we should take it one issue at a time. Are there any questions or comments regarding the request for, I guess, modification of the plan to accommodate a different glass size?
So we need to make a motion on that?
Can you roll it back a minute, just back up to the beginning? So we're making the motion for which?
I guess we should, well, I guess we don't have to even vote on that yet. We can, let's finish the discussion about
Yeah.
that and then move on to the detailed plans of the window design. So is everybody comfortable with moving on to that
Yeah.
issue? All right. One thing that, I guess you've shown us the drawings and what they show. When we originally approved the plan to restore the windows, you explained that there would, structural component would be aluminum, but that none of that would be visible to the public. It would all be wood that would
Right.
be visible to the public, and that's not what is now being proposed.
Right.
So,
To address that, we absolutely could conceal 100% of the aluminum. What we, as more of a design choice, we felt that it would be better to leave that front section exposed, which would basically allow us to have a lower profile, which would actually match the original, or at least match what's on Maxine's better. All of it will be painted, so the logic would be that with painted wood, you won't be able to tell the difference between that aluminum and then the wood trim beside it. It'll all be painted, it'll all be caulked. We could put a piece of wood on the face of that, but then that would force us to deviate slightly from the profile of the
Make it
wood.
deeper.
It would make it deeper. Yeah.
So example, this section 1 that we're seeing where we see the aluminum piece there that's exposed,
Right.
how would you put a piece of wood just on the exterior surface and then have to make the wood trim deeper? Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
How thick a piece of wood would you put on that?
I
mean, how
wouldn't
much-
do anything less than 3/4 of an inch. Beyond that, I think it would end up cupping and not weather very well. Another advantage to leaving that aluminum exposed, again, I put that in scare quotes because it will in fact be painted and will be indistinguishable from the trim because it will all be painted. You'll still see those brush strokes. It will look like painted wood.
The aluminum itself will be painted?
Correct. It'll
So
all
you-
be painted
okay,
the
and so
same color.
You're
Right.
not buying a white aluminum.
It
You're
will be
buying-
white aluminum, but then we will also paint over that white aluminum to give brush strokes on it so
Okay.
that it will blend with the wood trim on either side of it.
So how deep is that, just that portion of the aluminum that's from the glass right now? It's just so I can have some idea of how,
Sure.
what the proportions are.
It's about 1.25 inches. And so you'd be adding 3/4 of an inch to that. So if you look, and really the best thing perhaps would be just to look at what Maxine's has.
Maxine's is very flat.
It is very flat. And so this right here is the detail. If you go back to that detail, gather around. So this essentially would be on our window, this would be the aluminum right here, and then this rounded molding would be the wood. It would all be caulked, and it would all be painted by hand, so you would have brush marks on it. It's essentially the only way you would be able to tell the difference is if you went up to it and tapped it. So we are absolutely willing to go ahead and put a piece of wood right here, but we felt that would be kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face because you're making that projection out even further. See right here, there's not. It doesn't project out very far at all, and that's because the entire frame and everything is wood and it is single pane. So with this, we're kind of bound by the structural constraints of the aluminum, and so we have to make that match as close to what an entirely wood frame would be.
What species of wood are you using there?
We would most likely use white oak, something with high rot resistance. And it would be white oak or something with similar rot resistance and hardness.
I think on day one, it's all probably gonna look the same, but I think a year down the road, you're gonna be able to tell the aluminum from the wood.
I think there's also an issue of when you're attaching the wood, that will be another opportunity for there to be cupping and some weatherization of that wood. I think, again, if I owned the building, if I were looking at this from a longevity standpoint, this will provide the most longevity. I think this will end up looking the best over the long term. we're fine doing the wood on the face, but I think it would in a way be a disservice to the integrity of the window, because I think it'll start cupping.
Or aren't you gonna have the same issue with the pieces of wood on the side?
No, because those pieces of wood on the side are in a corner, so they're not as prone to cup. They're also molded. It's a molded edge. It's not just a flat piece of stock, and so you're not going to have the same issues with that because of just where it's situated.
Can we roll that back up to the wood?
Again, I'm not gonna, if you guys want us to put wood on the face, I'm not gonna push back on that. We'll go ahead and do that.
On that picture that he has up there now, can you just,
So that
I can't see this one, but I can see this one.
Yeah.
About where the aluminum would be on
Okay.
that.
So on that particular detail, which was, can you guys see if I just turn this?
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
It's gonna be
So-
it's gonna be the main vertical and horizontal components, isn't it?
Right, so it would be this component right here would be the aluminum, okay? This, again, we're happy to put wood on the face of it, but I feel like that would just be in a way a token, effort. It wouldn't actually advance the overall aesthetic, which is to make it look as close to Maxine as possible.
So the horizontal would be aluminum too?
This,
Yes.
no, this, I believe, let's
Yes.
go to detail
That's
number two.
aluminum, it's there now.
Right, go to detail number 2. Yes, so this, that would be aluminum, that portion would be aluminum. But
So-
again, it would be, it could be wood, but we're trying to reduce the profile.
So what I'm struggling with is there is a desire to as closely replicate what's at Maxine's as we can, but we're not doing that already. We've already changed if we approve the change in the glass size, we have departed from that. And it's more of a slightly more modern look the way it is now than the way if we approve the glass size. And I think that Maxine's is very flat, and I think a deeper has a more traditional look to it. So, but I'm concerned about the problem of if you have the wood, cupping. I mean, how do you attach wood over top of this aluminum, and what would be the process of doing that?
What we would most likely do is make that, so we would probably have to we would both attach this to the aluminum with trim screws. And then in addition to that, we would need to bring these molded pieces out, and then we would also nail those into the sides of the wood to reduce the amount of cupping. It might be fine. Honestly, we may go 10 years down the road and it'll be, it's possible that it will be perfectly fine. Just from again, we were trying to reduce the overall projection of that mullion. And so if you guys, if you think it's more appropriate to cover all of the aluminum, we're happy to do that.
My concern is the same as Mr. Weaver's, that is over time the aluminum is going to be more obvious.
Okay.
I'm sorry to think of this, but I just did. The wood trim that's against the glass,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to paint the backside of it before you put it up there, or you're gonna see raw wood from the interior.
Yep, that's exactly right, yeah. And really, just as a matter, for building this type of window, we'll want to paint all of the wood prior to installing. And that's, a lot of that's just to keep it from deteriorating as well, so.
Well, since we already have that 1.25 inch, I don't know, I think my preference would be to go ahead and laminate a piece of wood to the face of the aluminum.
Okay.
And I do realize that something's gonna have to get thicker, probably the piece that goes against the glass.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle too with the aluminum looking differently in a few years, and I think it would. But I also struggle with, the profile being much deeper. So I think with us, we have to decide which is the lesser of the two evils.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it would be the deeper profile for me, would be better than taking the risk of the aluminum being obvious 5 years from now.
Would you bump up the proportions of the wood trim instead of just making them deeper? Would you also make them slightly wider? I mean, would you?
We would
I
try
see-
not to, because,
Okay.
really, because I wanna keep those
Right.
mullions as narrow as possible, so.
So maybe you just,
Uh,
piece against the glass, you might make deeper.
Right, so the only thing that would perhaps change, it go down, one more, is we would perhaps make these, change the curvature of these slightly, so that this comes out a little bit more. Because that would give us the opportunity, if that came out, if you imagine this coming out to here, the wood would sit in here, and then that would allow us to then fasten that wood onto the edge. I wanna keep that edge curly, and so that would allow us to kind of hold it all
I
together.
think it would look better
So-
if you made both a little deeper instead of just the one.
This and, yeah, we could,
So with the OG molding there?
yes.
Would is it gonna be flush with the face of the wood that you, or
It will-
will that face piece be out an eighth of an inch or so?
It will be, depends on, are you at the apex of the curve? It would be behind that slightly.
Okay.
But it would project out at the where it slopes down, then it would come out a little bit. Again, we're using the Maxine's as a reference. I don't think it would look proper to have it come out farther than the apex of those curves. Just from a design perspective.
The other
So we're-
issue I have,
Mhm.
Nathan, is that we don't have, we've got the beginnings of a detail on how these panels are gonna be below. This section 4 kind of suggests the beginning of that panel, but we don't know how that meets the sidewalk.
So it will essentially be the bottom of that would look essentially the same as this top, let me point, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, the bottom would, and it wouldn't actually need the sidewalk, there's actually a concrete platform that it would meet. This would meet, this is the wood panel, this would be essentially, imagine this but at the bottom, it would be the same as that, with through flashing at the very bottom.
And what would be the transition into the bottom of the wood panel?
Bottom, I'm sorry.
Like so you've got I guess you've got a piece of wood, you're saying, that rests on the concrete wall, this little knee wall there.
Right, it'd be raised very slightly above that, and then there would be through flashing to prevent it from.
But what happens at the top of that piece of wood where it goes into the bottom of the panel? Is there a
Yes, so
code molding or a?
this trim.
Oh, that trim upside
Yeah,
down, okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and just oversight, we should have drawn the detail of that
So
bottom.
just flip
as
it
well.
over.
But just imagine this, flip it over.
Gotcha.
That would be the bottom panel. So as you can see from the elevation, the bottom of that, go back, Mason, if you don't care to go to the main elevation.
And all that will be wood.
All of that would be wood. So this, right here, is the same as that. You have a detail of this, and it would be the
I
same.
got you.
This is the concrete platform, and then this would be a mirror image of this. It would have the wood sill, which would have a slight slope. Again, that wood sill would be white oak or something similar with high rot resistance. We would soak it in boiled linseed oil and then do an opaque stain, which again would look like paint, but that opaque stain will hold up much better to the weather.
And what about the columns?
The columns are going to be cast iron. And so those will actually be structural columns. They'll be painted cast iron, which will match what's in the front.
And so will there be a small space between the back of the column and the wall?
Correct.
And they'll fit into that alcove there, just like they did before?
That's right.
And they'll be painted white?
Yep.
Have you found somebody to do those?
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't have to install them yourself though, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the fun part.
I've had that done before, and it's not a cheap thing to do.
No. But why stop with, there's no part of this project that's been
Well,
cost effective.
I agree that I think having it all wood is the lesser of two evils than than keeping the exposed
Sure.
aluminum and keeping the thinner profile.
I'm totally fine accepting that. I mean, that was just more of a, we were choosing the other option, less, we didn't want it to protrude out as much, so we're only talking a difference of 3/4 of an inch, so that's fine. I would be fine accepting the approval contingent on those elements being clad with wood.
Are there any other questions or comments, concerns?
It's gonna be a long motion.
Someone like to make a long motion? I can't, so.
I'll attempt, that we approve the window design as presented on this plan with the trim work being made of wood, and the base, across the bottom, I've never been here for those meetings, so I don't know exactly what was approved there. That, yes.
Yeah, I think before all, we just said that it needed to replicate what's at the Maxine's, and that does.
So what we're doing is just approving what's presented with the exception of no aluminum and all wood.
Right.
No aluminum shown.
Right.
No
Showing.
exposed
Yeah,
aluminum.
right, okay.
And we are operating under the understanding that the design will stay the same, except that those flat vertical and horizontal members will be clad in
In wood.
wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the colors, cast iron.
Mike, do you want to put that all together in a
Just exactly what he said.
I think it is important to try to keep those two wood pieces, those profiles, proportionate and just expand them up so that you have
Yes.
the right look.
Yeah, it will, yes, I agree. I mean, I think the overall design and the proportions look good. We just want to cover that in wood
Right.
while maintaining the same overall proportions.
So that wood is going, did you say 3/4 of an inch? Is that what we're going to do?
3/4 of an inch.
It's
That-
what's-
yeah, that was
that's-
how I was gonna
that's-
say.
That's going to be the addition of where the.
That
that's
will be
gonna
how
the
much,
additional
exactly.
Okay.
To just specify that, I think, is the,
Mhm.
Right.
okay. Yep,
All right.
all that.
Can I get a thumbs up too?
Yeah.
I like that.
That really doesn't get That'll feel good. Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second to that?
I second the motion.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Ms. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Giesler?
Aye.
Great. And I have something else. I'm actually offering a door prize to anybody that can guess what is the new brick and what is the old brick.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
bring it up
I want to
here.
guess the oldest in your right hand.
Byron.
I can see the residue of the masonry
Yeah,
on
oh,
there.
man,
You held it the wrong way.
You're right, you get the prize, but yeah, so that's pretty close.
That's really
Yeah,
close.
that is really
Yeah.
close.
Very nice.
If
Oh,
you held them that way, you'd have.
Yeah, this is the new brick,
Yeah.
and this is the existing. So,
Wow, oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
And the addition of the parapet looks good.
Yes.
Great, yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's
So
looking
what's the
good.
opening date now?
We're at a hallelujah moment,
I'm
aren't
not
we?
required to answer the question.
We just wondered how many more times we were gonna be seeing you.
Yeah, well, hopefully this
This
is the
could be
last
it,
project
yeah,
for you.
this
so,
could be it.
yeah. We're looking towards the end of summer. Yeah,
Of being completed,
yes,
everything?
yeah,
Cool.
knock on wood,
All right.
Thank you, Nathan.
not aluminum.
Tell Charlie I'll
very
be his
exciting.
first patron.
I will.
All right, and let's see.
Is that it?
I thought David Dean might want to, it looks like he might have got a call. I hate that he set for the whole meeting. What is his name that's moving a building?
David Dalton.
David Dalton.
Oh, is that who
I
that
don't want to
was?
adjourn with him, but were we gonna?
Public comment, Janice, did he sign up? No.
He did not?
Okay.
Oh, I think
Let's-
he's just interested in this project, I think.
Oh.
Yeah,
Should we
Maybe
step
so.
out just to make sure he's,
I'm sure that's what
I
it was.
can go check.
if you don't mind?
Tell him we want to thank him for saving that building.
Want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would.
I guess they move it,
The ninth is what I've been
the
told.
9th?
Uh-huh,
It's on a Wednesday, so
a week from today.
I guess I just got recorded saying
that's exciting too.
That's
It's
really
all across
exciting.
town, isn't it?
Mhm.
Can I
Oh,
have one of these?
It's so pretty. No, because I only have one. But I could have another one made for you if you wanted.
No, that's
What do you want it for?
I just wanted to show Barbara how pretty it is. and-
Oh, well, I tell you what, I'll send it to you by email,
That's
okay?
fine.
I only have this one set, which I need to give to the contractor.
Oh, good, we caught you. Well, we just wanted to, thank you for coming, and thank you also for all the work you're doing with saving the building there and the move. Everybody's very excited about that, and we really appreciate that.
Hopefully still the 9th is on. We're
Right.
getting the footings right now, and hopefully we get the cement poured on Monday, in time for Wednesday. But if I get all the 5 utilities all to show up, I think we're in good shape.
It's fascinating.
It
I
really
mean,
is.
not
I
a, not
wish
a
I could
crack
go-
has even happened, and they've raised it up like
I wish I
that.
could go last Friday when they actually jacked the house
Yeah.
up. I was in Charlotte, missed
Uh-huh.
that. But I wish I'd gotten that. But
It's a fascinating
it
thing.
really is, it really is.
Bravo.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's gonna
yes.
happen, I think. Let's hope.
Pray for good
Thanks a
weather.
lot very
Yeah,
much.
well,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
We thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Catch with you after this. just
All
for a
right,
minute.
sure.
We'll ask you about something about the museum.
Okay, I'll be right out there.
All right,
Something to give you, well.
You do?
so
Is it
preservation
mine?
plan
Mine?
discussion, are we gonna table that again?
Oh,
This is.
I'm seeing a yes.
working
I think
on-
we probably should.
I think we should.
Yeah,
We need one of those meetings where we have one thing.
yeah.
Has Jimmy already talked to you?
yes,
Are you all okay with tabling the preservation plan discussion?
yes.
Betsy, we're just discussing this.
Okay, then is there,
I
are
move
any
we
matters
adjourn.
on the agenda, any announcements? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
It's been moved, seconded, roll
That's the
call.
one.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Geeson?
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.
I get that one.